By now, you know the story. A brain running on a delayed timeline. A dopamine system that under-responds to ordinary rewards. We explored how ADHD rewires time itself, turning minutes into hours and deadlines into emergencies. But here's what we left out. Almost everything we just told you was discovered by studying one very specific person, a hyperactive boy. And that leaves a problem, because millions of people living with ADHD were never that boy. They never climbed the walls, they never got kicked out of class. Their storm was quieter, and for that, the world mistook them for something else entirely. ADHD has 3 official subtypes: hyperactive, inattentive, and combined. But the original clinical descriptions, all the way back to the early 20th century, mostly described one of them: the boy who couldn't sit still. The boy who blurted answers. The boy whose behavior was so loud, so classroom disruptive, that someone finally said, "This isn't just bad parenting." So science built its models on him. And for decades, the diagnostic lens stayed fixed on his face. But look a little closer at what ADHD actually involves, and you'll find something the textbooks have only recently started to take seriously: emotional dysregulation. Not a side note, not a complication. For many people, it's the storm itself. Difficulty managing emotional responses, moods that swing faster and harder than the situation seems to warrant. Frustration that boils over a coworker's offhand comment. Tears that arrive before the thought is even finished. Joy that feels electric, then disappears without warning. This isn't being dramatic. It's a regulatory system that hasn't fully come online. Inside that emotional landscape lives something even harder to name. A phenomenon many describe as rejection-sensitive dysphoria, sometimes called RSD. Imagine your emotional skin doesn't have armor. A casual, "we should hang out sometime" that goes unanswered doesn't feel like a neutral event. It feels like a verdict. A perceived slight, a forgotten email, a friend's quick cancellation, all of it lands with the weight of being fundamentally unacceptable. Research is still catching up to what patients have described for years. Not just a fear of rejection, but a visceral, full-body experience of it. Pain that arrives before logic has a chance to intervene. Now, here's where the quiet part gets dangerous. The hyperactive boy gets noticed. He's disruptive. He's loud. He trips the diagnostic wire. But the girl sitting in the back of the classroom, daydreaming, twirling her hair, getting passing grades because she's smart enough to compensate, she gets overlooked. Not because her ADHD is milder, because her symptoms internalized instead of externalized. Instead of acting out, she spaces out. Instead of fighting, she daydreams. Instead of disrupting the class, she quietly falls behind, then goes home and cries for hours and can't explain why. Women with ADHD are diagnosed, on average, 4 years later than men. Many receive misdiagnoses first: anxiety, depression, borderline personality disorder. Each one plausible. Each one missing the point. Because the underlying condition isn't mood. It's regulation. It's attention that's there one moment and gone the next. It's starting 17 projects and finishing 2. It's a mind so loud with internal chatter that exhaustion becomes a way of life. And then there are the adults, the ones who made it through school, who built careers, who had families, who functioned until one quiet afternoon in their 30s, 40s, even 50s, a podcast, a book, a child's diagnosis, and suddenly the kaleidoscope shifts. All those years of being told they were lazy, too sensitive, not living up to their potential, those weren't character flaws. They were symptoms. Adult ADHD diagnoses have surged in recent decades, not because the condition is spreading, but because the invisible ones are finally being seen. This is the quiet storm. No chaos for the classroom to notice. No parent called in for a conference. Just a person, often a woman, often an adult, carrying a hurricane inside while everyone around them sees calm weather. And the tragedy is that this was always ADHD. It was just hiding behind the wrong face. So if ADHD isn't what we thought it was, then who decides what counts? What behaviors get diagnosed and which get dismissed? The answer might depend less on your brain and more on the map your culture draws around it. Next time, we'll travel the world to find out.